My house burned down overnight. I went to my daughter for help, but what she did next still hurts to remember. I've always believed a home holds the soul of those who built it. Mine carried the laughter of my late husband, the baby cries of my daughter, and the rhythm of 40 years of life. That night, all of it vanished. It started with a faint hiss from the kitchen. I thought it was the kettle. Then came the smell, thick, sharp, unnatural. When I turned, orange light was already crawling up the curtains like something alive. "Dear God," I whispered, grabbing the nearest towel to smother the flames. But the heat fought back. Within seconds, the walls groaned and the ceiling cracked. The smoke filled my lungs. I stumbled out the front door barefoot, coughing into the cold night. My hands shook as I watched my house, our house, burst into an inferno. Sirens wailed in the distance. Neighbors ran out in their robes, their faces half-lit by firelight. Mrs. Evans from next door threw a blanket over my shoulders. "Maggie, where's your phone? Did you call your daughter?" "It's gone, everything's gone." The firefighters arrived, shouting orders. I watched them drag hoses across the lawn that once held my rose garden. The sound of shattering glass made me flinch. The heat on my face was unbearable. One of the younger firemen led me to the curb. "Ma'am, do you have somewhere safe to go tonight?" "My daughter. She lives 20 minutes away. She'll take me in." He nodded, but his eyes lingered with pity. As I stood under the cold drizzle from their hoses, the memory of my daughter's smile kept me upright. She was my only family left. Surely she'd open her door to me. By dawn the fire was out. All that remained was smoke, twisted metal, and the faint scent of wet ash. I watched the firefighters pack up. Someone handed me a plastic bag, the only things they could save. My wedding ring, slightly bent, and a framed photo of Lena at her college graduation. I held the frame close. She was wearing her red gown that day, smiling at me as if the world belonged to her. That smile became my reason to keep walking. The taxi ride to her neighborhood felt longer than it was. The city moved on outside, people jogging, cars honking, while my whole world sat in a paper bag on my lap. When the driver pulled up to her driveway, I could barely breathe. The house was big, modern, freshly painted. A place full of life and stability. Everything I needed for one night. I climbed out slowly, clutching my bag, my heart pounding. Before I could knock, the front door opened. "Mom, what are you doing here this early?" "There was a fire. I lost the house." Her eyes widened, but not with the shock I expected. More like discomfort. Behind her I saw her husband, Josh, standing in his pajamas, sipping coffee. "Honey, what's going on?" "It's my mom. Her house burned down." I tried to smile, even though I was trembling. "I just need a place to stay for a few nights, dear. Just until I figure things out." There was a pause, a long, painful pause before she said, "Let's talk inside." But the tone wasn't warmth. It was hesitation. As I stepped into her home, a chill followed me that had nothing to do with the fire. The scent of coffee and lemon-scented polish filled the air. Everything in Lena's living room was spotless. A wall of framed pictures, leather couches, silver candle holders. Felt like a showroom, not a home. I stood at the edge of the carpet, afraid to move, clutching my bag as if it were made of glass. Josh watched me with polite unease. The way people look at a stray cat that wandered too close. "Mom, you should have called first." "I didn't have a phone anymore, sweetheart. The fire took it. It took everything." She sighed, running her fingers through her hair. "I know, Mom, I wish I'd known. Things are complicated right now." Complicated. That word cut deep. I looked around for a chair but decided to stay standing. My legs trembled slightly from exhaustion. "It's just for a little while. I won't be any trouble. I can sleep on the couch. We'd love to help really, but the guest room's full. My brother's in town. He'll be here for another week or two." My throat went dry. I forced a smile that hurt. "Oh, I see. Of course." Lena bit her lip, glancing between me and Josh. "Maybe We can help you find a motel for a few nights. The words barely landed before the tears burned behind my eyes. I blinked fast, pretending to look at the floor so they wouldn't see. A motel. Just for now, Mom. Until things calm down. We can pay for it, don't worry. The kindness in his tone was worse than cruelty. It made me feel small, pitted like a charity case. I wanted to scream, "You grew up under my roof. I worked 3 jobs to keep you fed." But the words stayed locked in my chest. "Don't trouble yourself. I'll manage." I turned to leave, but Lena caught my arm. Her fingers were soft, hesitant. "Mom, please understand. We just have a lot going on right now. I promise I'll come by tomorrow." I smiled faintly. Tomorrow sounded like an apology wearing nice shoes. As I stepped outside, the door clicked shut behind me. Not slammed, not locked, just closed. But in that moment, it felt heavier than the fire that burned my house down. The afternoon sun was warm, but I shivered anyway. I sat on the curb by their mailbox, watching families walk their dogs, children laughing on bicycles. No one looked twice at the old woman sitting with a burnt photo frame in her lap. A single thought echoed in my head. How did we get here? I remembered the nights I stayed up sewing her prom dress, the times I drove through storms to bring her forgotten lunch to school, the sacrifices that went unnoticed. Now she had everything: the house, the husband, the life I'd dreamed for her. And I had ashes. By evening, I found myself walking aimlessly downtown. The streetlights flickered on one by one as the sky turned violet. I wandered past grocery stores, laundromats, and closed-up shops until I saw the faint glow of a diner sign. Tina's Place. Open late. I pushed open the door, and the warmth hit me like an embrace I didn't know I needed. Beautiful. The bell above the diner door jingled softly as I stepped inside. Warm yellow lights glowed above the counter, and the smell of frying bacon filled the air. It wasn't fancy. Cracked tiles, humming fridge, the faint sound of old country music. But after 2 nights of smoke and heartbreak, it felt like heaven. I slid into the last booth by the window. My hands trembled as I reached for the menu, even though I knew I couldn't afford anything more than coffee. The waitress approached, her ponytail swaying, eyes tired but kind. Her name tag said Tina. "Evenin', ma'am. You look like you've had one of those days." You could say that. I ordered a small black coffee. When she brought it over, I realized my wallet only held $7 crumpled. I whispered an apology, ready to walk out. "Hey, don't worry about it. It's on me." "Oh no, I couldn't. Please. You look like you could use a warm drink more than I could use $7. Her kindness cracked something inside me. The tears I'd been holding back since the fire finally spilled over. She didn't say anything, just handed me a napkin and sat down across from me during her break. "What happened?" "My house burned down 3 nights ago. Lost everything. I went to my daughter for help. And she turned you away. How did you? I can see it in your eyes. I know that kind of hurt." Her voice carried a quiet ache. She told me she'd lost her own mother to cancer 5 years earlier. If she showed up at my door right now, even as a ghost, I'd set another place at the table. I smiled through tears. It was strange, how a stranger could feel more like family than your own blood. Hours passed as we talked, about life, faith, regrets, small joys. When the diner lights dimmed for closing, Tina grabbed her coat and looked at me with determination. "You can't sleep out there tonight. I've got a pull-out couch. It ain't much, but it's warm." "Tina, I can't accept." "Then don't. Just come over for breakfast tomorrow. And if you happen to fall asleep afterward, I won't wake you." She grinned, and for the first time in days I laughed. That night I followed her home, a small apartment above a laundromat. It smelled faintly of lavender and cinnamon. She gave me her blanket, insisting she didn't need it. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, I thought about how strange life could be. The people you expect to save you sometimes won't, and those who barely know your name will hand you back your dignity. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes and the sound of Tina humming. "You like blueberries? They were my husband's favorite." Then they're yours today. It had been years since I'd felt that simple warmth, someone cooking for me, asking how I liked my coffee. Over the next few days, Tina helped me replace my ID, call the insurance office, and even drove me to the fire department to retrieve what little they'd salvaged. She didn't treat me like a burden. She treated me like someone who still mattered. And in her kindness, I started to heal. 1 week later, there was a knock at Tina's door. When I opened it, I froze standing there. Clutching a bouquet of roses and guilt in her eyes was Lena. The knock came softly, hesitant, like it was asking permission to exist. Tina was in the kitchen, humming along to the radio. I wiped my hands on a towel and opened the door. There she was. Her hair was tied back in a loose bun, makeup smudged, eyes swollen from crying. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Hi, Mom." "Lena, what are you doing here?" She stepped forward, clutching a bouquet of roses that seemed out of place against her trembling hands. "I saw the news footage. The camera showed you standing in front of the fire. I thought maybe it was a mistake. But then I called your number and it said, out of service." Her voice cracked. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I froze that morning. I didn't know what to say, what to do. Josh and I were fighting and I just didn't want another problem. I didn't realize you were the one who needed me." Her confession cut through me like smoke through glass, painful but clearing. I looked at her face, the same one I'd kissed 1,000 times as a child. Behind me, Tina peeked out from the kitchen doorway, holding a mug. She smiled faintly and disappeared into her room, giving us space. "I wasn't angry, Lena. Just heartbroken. You're all I have left. And I failed you." For a moment, silence sat between us, heavy but soft. I reached out, brushing her cheek with my thumb. "Sometimes life tests us in strange ways. You didn't fail me, dear. You just forgot where you came from." She let out a sob and pulled me into her arms. I felt her body shake against mine, her breath hitching like a little girl's again. "I want to make it right. Come home with me." "I already have a home, sweetheart. It's not made of walls or furniture. It's made of people like Tina, who see you when you're invisible." She looked over at the small living room, Tina's worn couch, the scent of breakfast still in the air, and nodded slowly. "Then let me help rebuild yours. Not the house, Mom, your life." Her words filled the space with something new. Not guilt, not pity, but a quiet promise. Weeks later, Lena and I worked side by side, sorting through what the fire left behind. She came by often, bringing groceries, blankets, laughter. Sometimes Tina joined us for dinner, and we'd sit by the window, talking until midnight. Forgiveness didn't erase the pain, but it gave it purpose. And slowly, the emptiness began to fade. I learned that when life burns everything you thought was permanent, it doesn't end you, it refines you. The fire didn't destroy my world. It revealed who truly belonged in it. Camera pans out from the rebuilt porch. Margaret, Lena, and Tina sitting together under the soft glow of sunset. Laughter fades into a quiet breeze. Home isn't where you live. It's who lets you in. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll yet. Subscribe and join us for more real stories that remind us what truly matters.